Welcome to the Wrestling Wrealm presents Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy, and every belt has a story. So if you watched any episode of the Wrestling Wrealm, you've noticed I'm always in front of this background of these belts. Yes, the majority of them are tags or mid-cards, but today we want to talk about some tag belts. I do have the Impact tags, ROH, TNA, and then even the WWE ones. And for some reason, the WWE seems to think that two belts are always better than one. We go through these ebbs and flows where they introduce undisputed, unified tag teams, and then they give us one belt, and then we go back to these two. So let's talk about that for a second. Are two belts really better than one? Well, WWE will let us believe that. They even went as far as to do it with the women's tag too, because we had a women's tag team championship that was supposed to float between all three shows, and then they said, never mind, let's give NXT their own belts. But now the NXT champions, at the time of this recording, are actually drafted to SmackDown. So when the penny tag was introduced, it actually has its lineage that dates all the way back to this belt, ironically, when it was on SmackDown. So a brief history. Stephanie McMahon introduced this belt to SmackDown in 2002, and it seemed like it had a lot of makeshift tag teams that were just some wrestlers that were put together. And when I say makeshift, it was people like Eddie Guerrero and Tajiri, Edge and Rey Mysterio, Charlie Haas and Rico, Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree. It was Drew McIntyre and Cody even had it at one point when they changed over to this belt. Kofi Kingston, let's not forget, he's probably one of the persons that had the most tag team partners. He has CM Punk, Evan Bourne, and R-Truth. And then, of course, the Hart Dynasty is who introduced this belt by Bret Hart bringing it to an episode of Monday Night Raw. So this lineage actually ties back all the way to the introduction of SmackDown. But we had this belt for a while. When we had that belt, it kind of seemed like they were trying to identify tag teams, and then they were helping further the story along with them. But for some reason, we decided to split it apart and make it exclusive to Raw. And when we did that, we still had some makeshift tag teams like Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman and Nicholas, Dolph and Drew, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. But we did see established teams start to hold this belt, like the Revival, like Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. You had the Bludgeon Brothers, the New Day, the Usos, the Bar. The Bar were establishing themselves as a tag team, and you couldn't doubt that they actually were a tag team. But then this belt came along in 2016, and it came along because somebody had kids, and because they had kids, we had to have a tournament, and Heath Slater and Rhino became the inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Champions for the Blue brand, and it gave us a real defined tag teams within WWE because I felt like the focus was more on SmackDown. From March of 2017 all the way to August of 2018, we got to see the New Day and the Usos really define this belt and really define that rivalry. So I'm not taking credit from it. We did have a lot of makeshift teams with that as well. We had like Sheamus and Miz who had to further their story, and we had people like Daniel Bryan and Rowan further their stories. And at times, any tag team could feel like it's a prop and saying, hey, we have nothing to do with this wrestler. Let's give them this belt. But let's talk about this belt a little bit. Now, we went from a penny, as people like to call it, because it's the copper. It looks like copper. It looks like a penny. To these nickel or dimes, I've heard it called nickel, for different brands. WWE will have you believe that two belts are better than one, but the current state that the tag teams are in, you have a makeshift team of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which has really only been a tag team for a storyline and not really an established team like the Usos, the New Day, the Revival, or FTR they're called, or like the Motor City Machine Guns, who always come apart then come back together and have had single run and coming back. It seems like, they came out of a storyline and then they got the top prize in that division. But do we really benefit from having two teams having in one? I don't think so. I think that it takes away from I'm fighting for the top prize, because the thing about a tag team champion is that I should be basically two individual world champions that work together in that division. I'm the top prize. And with two people holding two different titles, or if you want to say two different people holding four titles within it, it kind of holds up the other brand. Even if they're able to float, they haven't really been. They just been engaged in one type of scenario. So with that being said, let me tell you the story behind why I have these three belts. And it's actually pretty funny. So oftentimes you'll hear me say about the WWE having that $99 sale. Boom, that's why I have this belt. I honestly didn't want it, but what I've learned as a belt collector, when WWE shop gets rid of something, it's gone. It's gone, and then the resale is through the roof. So granted, I brought the commemorative version of it for $99 during the sale, and I also had the commemorative version for the Raw and the SmackDown belts. So fast forward a few years, you might have heard me talk about this WWE sale, and that's why I always say, if you want a belt from WWE, just hold on. They're going to put it on sale. Yes, the regular prices are the regular price. If you can afford it, you got some disposable income or whatever your income is, I'm not counting your pocket, go ahead and purchase it. But if you want to save a couple dollars, just hold on, because if you want that belt on Monday, I guarantee you'll want it on Tuesday. And you never know. Tuesday might be a 40% off sale versus Monday was regular price. So just hold off. Wait until it gets to that comfortable level. Set your mark, and I knew my mark for a commemorative belt was $99. At the time, I purchased the penny and the 2 nickel ones. So fast forward, they had another sale for $199 on their replicas. And as you know, in the last video, I talked about the difference in the replica and commemorative. So I was like, you know what? This belt is kind of growing on me more and more. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and get that one. So what did I do? I went and purchased those two on the $199 sale. So those are actually replicas, and that's the commemorative. Why did I feel like I needed them? Because I felt like, as certain teams like the New Day and the Usos made me pay attention to both sets, even to the point when they had that ladder match at WrestleMania where it was one team from each of the teams wrestling, it still felt like it was important. It felt like it was a major deal. And when you think about it, who holds the tag team makes it relevant. Who holds the tag team gives it that prestige to it. When you have two people just come together to further a storyline, I don't feel like it adds the prestige to it. I feel like it adds a defining moment. Let me break that down a little. So when Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn won at WrestleMania, it was their defining moment, a feel-good moment for them. But yet when you go back and look at people, let's just say the Hardy Boys winning the Raw tag at WrestleMania, it was a defining moment, but they were an established team that now has another notch under their belt that can actually function as a tag team, that actually can help build up other teams. Even when the Hardy Boys beat the Usos on that episode of SmackDown for the SmackDown ones, it was a neat deal. But then you think back to the Bludgeon Brothers were put together, and look what they did. They were able to put emphasis on the tag team to where people like the New Day were able to beat them, and then we started the rivalry in different ways. So it's always a good thing when established teams have the belt. I think it's a bad thing when makeshift teams come together just for that storyline. And don't get me wrong, when Ray and Dom won, it was a feel-good moment because it was father and son, but they had been tagging for a while and they were trying to establish that self. But when you have people like Seth Rollins and Buddy Matthews hold the belt, or Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan hold the belt, it was like, that was just for a storyline. It kind of takes away from, you had established teams like the Revival and the other teams on Raw at the time, and this is what we went with because that's what fit the storyline. So now I want you to take a couple glances at the pictures I took, and I want you to see these belts a little bit more in depth. Well, there you go. There's a look at the commemorative and the two replica belts. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Wrestling Wrealm Presents Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy. Remember, always follow us on all social media. Follow #3rd, Brian H. Water, or The Real Dwayne Allen on all social media platforms. Or just follow us at The Wrestling Wrealm. You can always catch us on Wednesday night for our flagship, the Wrestling Wrealm Now podcast on YouTube, Apple Music, or Spotify. However you choose to listen, just listen to us. Don't forget, like and subscribe so you never miss a notification about when we either go live or we got a new episode uploaded. So, there we go. Hopefully WWE gives us something new at Night of Champions. Maybe not, maybe so. But until then, I'm going to hold on to this Dwayne Allen version of the Wrestling Wrealm tag belt. I'm going to keep holding it until he decides that he wants to put it in his mantle. So don't worry, brother. It's in safekeeping. And as always, every belt has a story. Can't wait to hear yours.